Once again, thank you for joining me, the_Dab86, as I show you what should be a pretty successful build for early access and then also for the game when it goes live in June for Barbarians. So of course we are here in our ability tree. It does cost points to move down it as you spend. So the starting point is I felt most comfortable going with Frenzy. I didn't feel like the other abilities really were fitting into the build, but with Frenzy I did 1 point. Enhanced Frenzy is just 1 point as well. It increases the bonus of the attack speed and also 2 additional Fury per attack. And then while berserking, your other skills gain 5% attack speed per stack of Frenzy, which does stack 3 times. From there, we worked into Whirlwind. I put 5 points into that. And then I went Enhanced Whirlwind. And then, of course, Violent Whirlwind, which increases the damage by 30% as long as I've channeled it for 2 seconds. And this, of course, allows me to generate Fury with direct damage to an enemy or 3 Fury against elite enemies. So as long as you're in a pack of enemies, typically generating it. Another side effect of Whirlwind is it does allow you to pass through enemies, which adds kind of a free evasion compared to using your spacebar evasion, as you'll need that to dodge more critical hits. I did also put 3 points into Pressure Point, which your core skills will have up to 30% chance to make enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds, which vulnerable, of course, enemies take 20% increased damage while vulnerable. So that is also very helpful as well. From there, we had worked our way down to Ground Stomp. And I did put in increase Ground Stomp duration by 1 second. And Ground Stomp generates 25 Fury because if I did get low, I could use it to start a pull on a group. And then I could continue whirlwinding right off the bat. I wasn't too worried about the ultimate because in boss fights, if I'm running around, I'm not going to be able to hit them with the Ground Stomp per se. But it could also be nice in smaller groups and stuff like that. For the next area, for our brawling skills, I went with Leap because it is a great thing to be able to leap into a fray, start the fight right off the gate, and use with that Leap. Of course, you can use it for mobility as well, because if it doesn't hit anything, you get a reduced 4 seconds. And then I also did it where it would generate 40 Fury, so I could jump right into the fray and just go from there into a whirlwind. And then after that, I went for aggressive resistance, 1 point there for the reduction in damage. And that, of course, is procced by Battle Fervor. When a brawling skill damages at least 1 enemy, gain berserking for 3 seconds, which Leap is a brawling skill. Didn't put any points here. The 2 that I have here are, of course, from gear that I'm wearing. And then for my ultimate, I chose Call of the Ancients because this skill is beyond powerful. It helped me solo content that I probably should have been in a group in, such as the Strongholds. And then, of course, I put the points for Prime Call of the Ancients, gain 10% attack speed and increase damage while it's up. And then, of course, Supreme Call of the Ancients gives my Ancients other abilities as well, such as slowing, stun, and, of course, Fury generation each time he does. Now, things that also coupled with this build well, of course, were my legendary affixes. The one that was the most predominant was the Lucky Hit. Damage enemies with Leap, Upheaval, or Whirlwind has up to a 46% chance to summon an Ancient to perform the same skill. Can only happen once every 5 seconds. This, when it summons with a Whirlwind, he will kill most enemies for you almost. And then, of course, we also have Leap, which also has that one. I found that one to be less helpful because he can tend to leap and miss a lot of targets. And, of course, the Upheaval one wasn't bad either. But the thing I found about it is he targets a random enemy, and sometimes he would attack things that weren't even attackable, and it would do no damage. But the Whirlwind one is phenomenal. Other things, of course, are the Whirlwind's critical strike chance increased by 20% for each second channeled, up to 80%. So that's nice also as well. To be on the lookout. The other legendary affixes I had were just very basic ones that didn't really strengthen the build, but because I was using the abilities, did come in handy as well, such as Leap creates an Earthquake, Ground Stomp creates an Earthquake. This wasn't a lot of damage, But just be aware as well, if you have similar affixes, it goes with the stronger one, so it doesn't stack and suddenly become like 600. Now let me go ahead and show this build in action. We'll be starting off with our leap. Here we go, here's a decent pull. Jump into it, get it started. And there's the whirlwind. Look at him. There you go.
What is this?
And if you should need it, call the ancients. There you go. Don't think we could demo the build any better than that. Flows beautifully from one pull to another. Get it grouped up. Look at that. He just takes care of it. That ancestor just takes care of it every single time. But that's the build. It should only get stronger as time goes on. Especially since you still don't have the final area of the build, which will be down here. As far as which one to go with, towards these two, because your core skill is going to be, of course, up here with whirlwind. But with it doing 38, that might actually run you dry. And your main damage isn't really coming from that anyway. It's from your summons and other things. So unconstrained may be the best choice. We'll see as builds go. And of course, we unlock more stuff. Because if it is really a point per level, then we'd still have like about another 75 points. So you could definitely invest in like duelist, the other things that give damage, some health and defensive things rather than skills per. One last thing to keep in mind is you can also change your arsenal if it allows you to select it. So for example, with whirlwind, if you push your middle mouse button, you can change which weapons it is using.